Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Okay, before we offer our obeisances, I want to try a couple of more little bars, but with this little change. Since it's only us and the internet. All right. You ready? Okay. How's that? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Okay, next time I give a glass, we'll add the drum. Jai Mr. Paramahansa, Pajikacharya, Ashtotirtha, Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa, Pajikacharya, Ashtotirtha, Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavini ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Kwantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, and Samaveta Bhaktavrinda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Narayanam namaskritya Narang chaiva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta prayesha badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord who is glorified in transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 31st day of July 2019 in SanDiego, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We're in Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order. Chapter 16, Praise of King Prithu by the professional reciters. Text, we'll start with text 24. Esho Shwamedhan Shatam Ajahara Saraswati Pradhuda Bhavi Yatra Aharshid Yasyahayam Purandara Shatakvatushcharame Vartamani. All right, before we go on, the third line is irregular, so don't try to force it into the thing. It's not, the other is ti or ti, but this is aharshid yasya hayam purandara. See, that's a little irregular, so try to stay with it. Esho shwamedhan shatamajahara Saraswati pradurabhavi yatra durabhavi aharshid yasya hayam purandara Shatakvatushcharame Vartamani. Esho Shwamedhan Shatamajahara Saraswati Pradurabhavi Yatra Aharshid Yasya Haram Purandara Shatakvatushcharame Vartamani. Esho Shwamedhan Shatamajahara Saraswati Pradurabhavi Yatra Aharshid Yasya Hayam Purandara Shatakvatushcharame Vartamani. Jamal. Esho Shwamedhan Shatamajahara Saraswati Pradurabhavi Yatra Aharshid Yasya Hayam Purandara Shatakvatushcharame Vartamani. Glenn? Esho Shwamedhan Shatamajahara Saraswati Pradurabhavi Yatra Aharshid Yasya Hayam Purandara Shatakvatushcharame Vartamani. Saraswati Pradurabhavi Yatra Aharshid Yasya Hayam Purandara Shatakvatushcharame Vartamani. Eshaha. This king, Ashwamedhan, sacrifice is known as Ashwamedha. Shatam, 100. Ajahara, will perform. Saraswati, the river of the name Saraswati. Pradurabhavi, became manifest. Yatra, where? Aharshit, will steal. Yasya, whose? Hayam, horse. Purandaraha, the Lord, Indra. Shatakwatahu, who performed 100 sacrifices. Chadame, while the last sacrifice. Vartamane, is occurring. Okay, 1 second here. Sorry, this in-between temperatures is hard to know. Put something on and take something off. Okay. Translation. At the source of the river Saraswati, this king will perform 100 sacrifices known as Ashwamedha. In the course of the last sacrifice, the heavenly king, Indra, will steal the sacrificial horse. In text 25, I'll just read it myself. Esha sasadmo pavane sametya sanat kumaram bhagavantam ekam aradya bhaktya labatamalam tad jnanam yato brahmapadam vidanti. This king, Prithu, will meet Sanat Kumara, one of the 4 Kumaras, in the garden of his palace compound. The king will worship him with devotion and will be fortunate to receive instructions by which one can enjoy transcendental bliss. Purport. The word Vidanti refers to one who knows something or enjoys something. When a person is properly instructed by a spiritual master and understands transcendental bliss, he enjoys life. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 1854, Brahmabhuta prasannatma nashochati nakangshati. When one attains to the Brahman platform, he neither hankers nor laments. He actually partakes of transcendental blissful enjoyment. Although King Prithu was an incarnation of Vishnu, he nonetheless taught the people in his kingdom to take instructions from a spiritual master who represents the disciplic succession. Thus one can become fortunate and enjoy a blissful life even within this material world. In this verse, the verb Vidanti is sometimes taken to mean understanding. Thus, when a person understands Brahman, or the supreme source of everything, he enjoys a blissful life. Om Jnanatimarandrasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So as we go through the srimadbhagavatam, and we read of various kings, and we read of demons being killed, we read of Krishna's pastimes, so many things are going on. But if you notice, there's always a lesson. There's always a point where Kali is being chastised in this ecstatic display of Krishna's dancing, and then the Nagapatnis come and offer prayers to Krishna, and it's full of philosophy and a lesson. Or Krura is going to Vrindavan, and along the way he's offering these prayers. When he gets there, he offers prayers. When he brings wishes back, he offers some more prayers. And each of them is filled with philosophy. Even in the middle of the latter 10th canto, where Krishna is living in Dwarka, there's so many things going on, he's killing these demons. And then all of a sudden, we get this 87th chapter, which is practically at the end. There's 90 chapters in the 10th canto. And it's the most philosophical chapter in the whole Bhagavatam. You have the prayers of the personified Vedas. It's such an important chapter that our Acharyas have written a Mangalacharan for their commentaries on this chapter. A Mangalacharan is a series of verses that's usually reserved for a major philosophical exposition, just like we have a Mangalacharan, a series of verses at the beginning of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. One could say that the first 3 verses of the Bhagavatam are the Mangalacharan. And I remember when I was working on the 10th canto, we came to this 87th chapter. It's very formidable. You know, if you read the Krishna book, or hopefully when you read the Krishna book, you'll find it's like 10 times longer at least than any other chapter. Because Prabhupada got into those commentaries and he gave us so much, you know, selected from it. So what I'm getting at is that this pastime that we're now reading about King Prithu, you remember how it started? There was this whole problem with King Vena, who was, they needed a king. You have to have an executive head. We know from experience that when there's a blackout and the cops can't really do their thing so much, immediately the dacoits come out and break the windows, you know, there's all this looting, especially in the big cities. It happened in L.A. in 92. It happened in New York in 65. Prabhupada was there. This is right after he arrived. I was in Chicago when it happened, in the winter of 65, 66. But I read about it. It was a major thing, a huge blackout, not just in New York. The whole Northeast was blacked out for hours and hours and hours, and so much looting going on. So that's what happened. We just read about that. When Anga, Vena's father, left, then there's no executive head. You know, now's our chance. And they come out and they rob and they cheat. You know, they create havoc. So they put Vena in there. So we have to have a king. Now he's the son. We know he's a little bit off, but maybe he'll grow into it. This was their hope. This position will, you know, but it didn't work. He became worse than no king. He was stopping the sacrifices. He was oppressing the Brahmins and the devotees. And he himself was the biggest dacoit, Prabhupada says. So we know what happened, that they killed him with high-sounding words, some kind of mantric thing. Then the same thing happened. So, you know, but his wife preserved the body. So these Brahmins, they had some kind of tantric or yogic technique. They churned the body, the arms, they churned the legs, and all of the sinful reactions came out in a person, Bahuka, and they exiled him. Then they churned the arms, and out came King Prithu and Archie. She was practically the goddess of fortune, and Prithu is a Shakti-abesh. Shakti-abesh means infused or empowered with Krishna's Shakti. And he specifically had the Pala Shakti. That was what was needed. Pala Shakti means what the king has, which is primarily to protect the citizens. We see great kings at the beginning of Bhagavatam, King Parikshit, King Yudhishthir. You know, the whole Mahabharata war was fought to reinstall Dharma in the personification of Yudhishthir. That's one of Krishna's missions, isn't it? Yada yada hi dharma se glana bhavati bharata. When Dharma becomes confused on the earth and the adharmis, the demons, become ascendant, then Krishna appears, he protects the devotees, annihilates the demons, and reestablishes Dharma. And not just Krishna, you'll find all the avatars who appear. Nrsingadev, what did he do? Of course he came to protect Prahlad, but at the same time he annihilated Hiranyakashipu, and he placed Hiranyakashipu's, no, that was Ravana, I'm sorry. But he placed Prahlad on the throne. In other words, Prahlad became the king, even though he was pretty young. But anyway, he reestablished Dharma. And you'll find that's true for whether it's Matsya avatar or Varaha avatar, even Mohini Murti. They're all concerned about, protecting the devotees, bringing them into power so that the people in general will be helped. So we're hearing a little bit about that now. First we heard about the Ashwamedha sacrifices. This is a very interesting pastime. These animals, Ashwamedha means killing a horse. So the horse is sacrificed, but they're immediately given a new body. It's not just killing, but it's giving them new bodies. And so, they're forbidden today. Any of these Ashwamedha, even Gomedha, you kill an old cow, give them a new body. But because it requires very highly trained Brahmins who can precisely chant the right mantras in the right way at the right time, these are all forbidden in the modern age. So he's doing this Ashwamedha sacrifices, and the last one, Indra becomes envious. Now this is something that we find again and again with Indra. The most famous time is what? Govardhan Hill. He became envious of he became disturbed because he wasn't getting his proper respect and his offerings from the coward community. Hey, I'm in charge of the rain. You need the rain. What's going on? So he completely became covered. He didn't recognize Krishna's divinity, which is kind of understandable. He's in the form of this little boy. But still, they came under the control of this talkative little boy. I'll show them. And he throws, his big storm clouds that are only reserved for the time of devastation. He says, no, you go and devastate. I mean, can you imagine if he'd actually succeeded, how he would feel? I mean, he's a devotee. Oh my God, I've just killed all the cows and all the cows. Of course, Krishna didn't let that happen. But this is Indra. Why? It's not an accident that his name is Indra, and the senses are called Indriyas. Notice the close. It means he can't control his senses. That's why he's got the eyes all over his body. We won't go into detail. But so again and again it happens. Even with Krishna, when he went to the heavenly planet, because he had Satyabhama with him to make sure that she got her parijata tree. She was a little envious of Rukmini. Rukmini had this whole parijata plant, with very fragrant flowers growing in her garden. So she wanted that, so Krishna, I'll get you a whole tree. So he goes there, he returns Aditi's earrings. Aditi is the mother, that is Indra's mother. Her earrings were stolen, and Bhaumasura had them. So he killed Bhaumasura, retrieved the earrings, went back and returned them and everything. He wanted to take the parijata. Indra says no. Can you imagine saying no to Krishna? The same Krishna who earlier he had realized, this is God, he offered all these prayers. You see the problem? When the senses are out of control, then they cover your knowledge. Avitam ganametena, gyanino nityavaidana, kamarupena kontaya, dushpadena nalenacha. We're back to the same principle again. Why we're here in the material world. Because we turned from Krishna, and instead of prema, we were just discussing this last night, our natural love for Krishna, which is always there, became covered or curdled in contact with the material energy because we turned from Krishna. We're no longer under the protection of the internal energy. So her expansion, Yogamaya and Mahamaya are the same personality, just in different aspects. Mahamaya is an expansion of Yogamaya. So Yogamaya makes you forget Krishna's majesty, so you can have a more intimate relation. Not that you forget Krishna, but Mahamaya makes you forget Krishna altogether, and your relationship with Krishna. And then the whole thing happens, we're discussing, I'll give you the reference later, Ace. We're at the place in the third canto where you can find the development of false ego. Before we leave, remind me. So the false ego takes over, the sense of I'm a competitor to Krishna, and then in contact with the material energy, the modes of nature, the subtle and gross bodies and these objects of the senses, and the whole thing is created. And then we're in Maya. We're forgetting Krishna. And instead of prema, it turns to kama. And you become, very, very passionate to satisfy your own senses rather than Krishna's senses. So that's what happened to Indra. So he disguised himself as a sannyasi. Prabhupada said this is the beginning of the fall down of the sannyas, corruption of the sannyasa ashram in Kali Yuga. And he steals the last horse. The 99 sacrifices, the 100 sacrifices, he steals the horse so the sacrifice can't take place. And so Prithu is upset, and I forget who comes down. Brahma, somebody says, don't worry about it, forget about it. Let him do his thing. So he wasn't able to perform the 100-horse sacrifice. He will perform them, try to perform them, anyway. But then the next verse is one where he meets Sanat Kumara. Now, actually all the 4 Kumaras come, but Sanat Kumara, who's this kind of the spokesman in most cases, he gives the instructions to Maharaj Prithu, and they're just so important. The main one is, Prabhupada would quote all the time, I quoted last night, how is it that devotees are able to give up sense gratification? I just heard a lecture, Prabhupada was talking today, or was I reading something? No, I was reading a quote from Prabhupada's books. How by the process of devotional service, you get the higher taste, and then you can give up the lower taste. This is the science. Otherwise, we have no hope. We're just helpless. The senses, conditioned senses, under the control of the material energy. This is the tragedy, of the living entity. Even if you know you shouldn't do something, you feel compelled to do it because you're a conditioned soul. The lust has taken over your intelligence, your mind, your senses, right in the Bhagavad Gita. So to get that higher taste of Krishna consciousness, that's one of the main blessings. Krishna kills or diminishes gradually your taste for the lower things. So that's there in this verse where near the end of his instructions, Sanat Kumara will say, Yat pada pangaja palasha vilasa bhaktya karmashayam gratitam udgratayanti santaha tadvan harittamatayo yatayopi ruddha sroto ganastamadanam bhaja vasudevam. What does that last phrase mean, Ramabani? Bhaja vasudevam. Worship Vasudeva, worship Krishna. That's the conclusion of this verse. So, yat pada pankaja, pada pankaja are the lotus feet. Ramapati knows. Maybe you can guess this, Balaram. Why is a lotus called a pankaja? Yeah, because it grows in the mud at the bottom of a lake or the bottom of a river. It's also known as ambaja because it grows in the water. So there's like counted. There's 28 different words for lotus in the dictionary. It's pretty amazing. Panka. So pankajangri, angri means feet. Just short for janma. You can tell her. So yat pada pankaja pilasha vilasa. So pilasha, pada pankaja is the lotus feet. And then palasha are the petals of the lotus of the feet. So if you got lotus feet, if your feet are lotuses, what are the petals? Your toes. So the devotees are not just serving the lotus feet, they're serving the toes, and they're enthralled with the effulgence emanating from the toenails. That's how much we meditate on the lotus feet. So this is Sanat Kumara speaking to Maharaj Prithu. Well, everyone listening, you can imagine, everyone is there. Palasha vilasa bhaktya, serving with love and devotion and tasting the vilas. Vilas is spiritual happiness and pleasure. Hari Bhakti Vilas, Vilasa, Yat Pada Pangata Vilasa Bhaktya, Karmashayam, the aspiration for fruit of activities and sense gratification, which are like gratitam, knots in the heart. In the 16th chapter, Krishna says, Asha Bandha, Asha Pasha, Shata Bandha. The demons are bound by thousands of these ropes of hope for sense gratification. Asha Pasha. You see, remember that phrase. So they bind us here. The unlimited desires, which are not always manifest, but in a certain environment, and they become manifest, and you have to have this, have to do this, have to go there, have to have her, have to have him. So this, he says, Pada Pangata Palasha Vilasa Karmash Graditam Udgratiyanti. The knots or the ropes are cut or untied or something. Graditam Udgratiyanti. For who? The santas. That's the devotees. So he's described in 2 lines the process of tying our bondage to this material world, which is basically untying or cutting the ropes which represent our strong desires to enjoy in this world. And what about others? Then the rest of the verse, except for the last 2 words, deals with the others. Tadvan na rikta matayo. Rikta matayo means those whose minds are empty of bhakti. Of course, the materialists, which is practically everyone, but then there's also the transcendentalists who are impersonalists, who are yogis, who understand the need for self-control and all of these things, but they don't have the bhakti. And so sooner or later, as he says in this verse, yatiyo, although striving, yatiyo means to strive. Piruddha sroto ganas, the flow, the powerful flow of the sense gratification allurements overwhelms their mind, and they can't break those knots. So this is therefore Bhaja Vasudeva. Therefore, you should worship Vasudeva. Anyway, that's coming up. I just wanted to share that because I always remember that. This is one of the first books I proofread, and I remember the pastimes here going through the Song of Shiva, which I think is coming up, which is quite a thing. We've been through Dhruva. So these are a wonderful canto here. So Prabhupada talks about Vedanti, okay, that they enjoy. Those who hear the instructions, take them to heart, that Maharaj Prithu will hear from the Kumaras, specifically Sanat Kumara, can actually rise to the Brahman platform, transcend the bonds of the material energy, and enjoy transcendental bliss. And Prabhupada, so instructed by the spiritual master. So this is very important. In this case, the Kumara's, son of Kumara, is Prithu's spiritual master. So Prabhupada refers the Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma verse, this famous verse in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna talks about this Brahman platform, this platform beyond the modes of nature, which is characterized Prasanatma Nashochati Nakangshati. Now prasanna has several meanings. One of the meanings is very clear and lucid. The mind becomes clear and lucid. And it's very interesting. When the mind becomes calm and clear like that, the natural happiness of the soul comes out. And so it also means in bliss. It also has happiness. Prasanatma, the soul is happy and clear and peaceful. And why? Nashochati nakangshati. Not lamenting for things lost or not gained despite all the effort. And nakangshati, not hankering after things that we don't have. When you think about it, this is material life. As soon as you come out of your mother's womb, there's a whole bunch of shochati and kangshati. Why is all that, that crying and mewling and, as Shakespeare famously said, mewling and puking in his mother's arms, Not very attractive. So, lamenting, I don't have, when can I get, right? I mean, how much is going on? I used to walk around the block on my walks. Now I walk through this parking lot. We got permission. Just circumambulate. If you walk around the block, you come to the corner there, and it's a little, what do you call it, bodega or something. They always have the lottery, figures. How much is it now? It used to be like, 10 million, 20 million. Now 100 million, 200 million. You can imagine the average Joe, or Jane walking by there and thinking, oh my God, I can buy a ticket for $2 and maybe I'll hit it rich, I read about that lady who in Mississippi. This is the way the demons control the populace with allurements, so they don't think about their actual situation. So that's shochati. That's kangshati, longing for it. This is the gambler's mood. Gambling is one of the things we have to avoid, right? Because it puts you in the total mood of kangshati and shochati. Maybe I can win, I'm in the action. Oh, my horse didn't come in, isn't it? Shochati. Kangshati, shochati. So, but here it says, not shochati and the kangshati. There's nothing you want from out there because you're full in yourself. The idea is that you're already enjoying bliss just being Krishna conscious. That's shantaras. We shouldn't denigrate Shantaras. And Shantaras is really a preliminary stage. It's like Brahma Bhuta. Shantaras means, simply put, to be completely happy just being Krishna conscious and hoping maybe Krishna will step on me like the grass in Vrindavan, But really not having any active service, but being perfectly happy just being Krishna conscious and being absolutely free of any attraction for any material sense gratification. That's Shantaras. Now of course, Dasya Ras is said to be better. That includes Shantaras, but you want to have some active service with Krishna. You want to contact, use your senses like that. And it goes up in different rasas, more intimately, more intense happiness. But this Brahma Bhuta platform was more like Shantaras. Prasanatma nashochati nakangshati. And how do you see others? Samak sarveshu bhuteshu. You don't see on the external platform. I mean, you can understand that people are and animals and everything else is in different positions, living entities, but you relate to them on the basis of there being living entities. Therefore, you see everyone equally, part and parcel of Krishna. You don't try to exploit, and if possible, you try to give some knowledge or give Krishna kindness, give some prasadam. This is the Brahma Bhuta platform. Now, it's not easy to come to that platform because we're so conditioned over many, many births. So what's the easiest way to do it? Mam chayova vicharena, bhakti yogena sevate. Sogunan samatityaitan, brahma bhuyaya kalpate. This is in chapter 14, text 26, where Krishna has described all the modes of nature to Arjuna. Very illuminating chapter. You could say, yeah, I remember that mode of ignorance. I like to sleep in. I was into intoxication. Didn't like to clean my room. That's it's like everyone can get realized there. And the mode of passion, trying to make money and enjoy. So then Arjuna at the end, he says, well, how does one transcend these modes, and what are the characteristics of one who's transcended the modes? And how does one do it? And what's the qualities of being transcended? There's 3 questions there. How does one get transcendental? How can I recognize someone who's transcendental? And what is the actual experience of being transcendental? So this is the verse of how to do it. And it comes back again, as it always does, to devotional service. One who is avyabhichariti bhakti. Avyabhichariti means without deviation, uninterrupted and unmotivated. That phrase. Mam chiyo, that bhakti is directed to me, says Krishna. Vyabhicharena, this word, this ending ena is instrumental. By means of this devotion to me, which he's spoken of elsewhere, and which we get so many details how to perform. Bhakti yogena, again instrumental. Sevate, by serving me, mam, in this way, with bhakti yoga, uninterrupted. Sagunan samatijaitan. One completely, samatija means samatija means totally transcends the gunas, the 3 gunas. Now I had a question from, this internet is amazing. I have regular questions coming in from the Chinese translator. How do we translate this? What is it? Usually things you don't think about, like the modes of nature. I mean, that made perfect sense to me, the 3 modes of nature. Because when you get into music, there's the minor mode, and you get into ragas, and it creates, everything is colored by that, all the melody and everything, There's a certain mood. Modes and moods, it's simple. So the mode of nature, it works like that. If you're in the mode of ignorance, right? Everything you do, all the food you eat, the music you listen to, the person you hang out with, right? The state of your room you live in, everything is colored by that mode, yeah. And you can see, that's what happens, So the modes, but you say, well, how do I translate that into Chinese, Is it a quality? And Prabhupada sometimes says guna means quality also. Guna means robe, So anyway, these things come up. So it is a quality of the mode of nature, but it kind of affects your mind, and you relate to everyone, including yourself, on the basis of that modes. So you can see how important it is to transcend these modes. And that, so much of like ashram life, keep it clean, right? Regular, more cleaner than you used to. Keep it, it's got to be, Banyan Ramanuja would always tell when he goes to Hungary, the Shivaram Swami, very advanced, that's the rule. You live here, it's revolutionary clean, Vaikuntha clean, which is what Prabhupada demanded for his rooms, You read the Lilamrita. Whether it's Malati or Yamuna or one of those, or Govinda Dasi, they clean every little thing, Prabhupada would point out, wait a minute, you left the spot here, he would point out. But it's more than just the atmosphere that's created by that, it's your consciousness that's purified by doing the cleaning. That's an important thing, So, when it attains to it doesn't hanker or lament, and is naturally happy. And then Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate, one attains that Brahman platform. So I like to point out this apparent contradiction or puzzle in the Gita between 1426 and 1854. Because in 1426, the means is how to get to the Brahma Bhuta platform, and it's through this bhakti yoga of vyabhichari without deviation like that. All right, that makes sense. Now I'm on the Brahma Bhuta platform. But then in the 18th chapter, it says, Brahma Bhuta, it starts with Brahma Bhuta. Brahma Bhuta prasanatma nashochatina kanchati samaksa veshibhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. It seems that the bhakti comes at the end of the process. First you attain the Brahma Bhuta platform, and then you're on the bhakti platform. But in this 14th chapter, it says, by practicing bhakti, you come to the Brahma Bhuta platform. So it seems to be a contradiction, but it's not. Because there's a difference between bhakti and bhakti yoga. I mean, they're obviously very closely aligned. But bhakti yoga emphasizes the process of bhakti, the bhakti marga. There's a path there by which you achieve the state of pure prema. And at that point, you're not practicing any yoga. The gopis aren't practicing yoga. They're just, the flow of bhakti is just going on constantly. You see what I'm saying? So you can say the gopis are not, they're just doing bhakti. They're experiencing bhakti, which is the exchange of loving relation with Krishna eternally. Yes. So the point is, by practicing bhakti yoga, which is the 14th chapter, And, which includes from the neophyte platform, the chanting and everything that we do, which never ends, don't get me wrong, it just changes. But there are certain aspects that you don't worry about. It's not spontaneous. One comes to the Brahmabhuta platform. Now on that Brahmabhuta platform, here's what the characteristics are. And there's actually some verses before this 1854 that give you the process of attaining Brahmabhuta and the symptoms of one on Brahmabhuta. But then the characteristics are, you'll be spontaneously happy, you won't lament at all for any loss, you won't hanker at all for anything material. And in that state, mad bhakti, doesn't say bhakti yoga, labate param, one attains spontaneous, pure devotion to me. You see, there's a difference in emphasis there. So, partakes of transcendental bliss of enjoyment. So this is although King Prithu was an incarnation of Vishnu, he nonetheless taught the people in his kingdom to take instructions from a spiritual master who represents the disciplic succession. So Lord Chaitanya did the same thing. Even Krishna took a spiritual master. He was trained by Sandipani Muni. So this is what the great souls do. What is that verse in the Gita? Who can chant by whatever the great souls do, the common people follow. Ramapati, you know this one? Yad yad tattadevetarojana. Sayad pramanam kudote, lokas tadanuvartate. I can't give you the references in the 3rd chapter, but we experience this every day. That great person could also be a big demon and a bad example. Unfortunately, he has tremendous influence over everybody. So yadyadachati shreshtas. In this context, the word shreshta means someone who is respected. He may not really be ultimately respectable, but he has respected or feared or is influential. Yadyadachati, whatever he does, the people in general will follow. Sayat pramanam kurute. This word pramana is very important. Pramanam is a source, usually in our case a book or someone who speaks, who you trust implicitly to give you instruction, and you can follow that instruction or example. That's a pramana. It's evidence for how you should act and you should think. We find it all the time. You grow up and your parents are your ultimate pramana. And gradually books and school and all these different things. But all along the way, you have to you have to trust some evidence. What happens on the material plane is that you trust and then the trust is betrayed. You trust and the trust is betrayed. And after a while you're so cynical, you say nothing is true. This is, Prabhupada says, this is the origin of this nihilist. No, everything is void. I don't trust anyone anymore. That's an unfortunate situation to be in. So the leaders of society, they present very influential evidence, and therefore that's why it's so important to have a proper king. This is what the Brahmins were doing here. They're getting rid of. They lost Anga, who was a good king. Then they got to get rid of Vena, and finally they're going to have Prithu, who's the best idyllic king. And the whole Mahabharata war to reinstate Dharma in the person of Yudhishthira. And so this is a constant, you would say, worry or concern of Krishna. Because after all, we're all his praja, and when the demons control things, then there's no devotion, people suffer like anything. So he comes down, or more often, he sends his emissary, leaves his book like Bhagavad Gita, and that's what we're benefiting from here. The Bhagavatam is also written by Krishna in the person of Vyasadeva. He's said to be also an empowered incarnation to write. So, if one follows the instructions that Prithu got, one can become fortunate and enjoy a blissful life even within this material world. Now this is an important point. We don't have to wait to go, to leave this body to experience the joy of Krishna consciousness. Iha yasya harir dase karma namana sagara. That the activities, iha in this means long I, long A means the activities, Harir Dasi are all within the realm of service to Hari or Krishna. What are those activities? Karmana, manasa, gada, your senses, karmana, your active senses, manasa, your mind, and your voice, and your words. Karmana, manasa, nikadashapyavastastu. All of them, if they're engaged in the service of Hari, jivan muktasa, then one is said to be liberated even in this lifetime. And we saw that with Srila Prabhupada. How can you tell a liberation? Primarily in the Shochati and the Kankshati. you can see if someone is not hankering. This is the problem with all these other bogus yogis. Eventually they get enamored, with their power that they had over the disciples, because they didn't get the higher taste. You may know all the postures and everything, but if you don't get the higher taste of Krishna consciousness, the allurements are going to be too much. The money, the young women, it's just impossible. But Prabhupada never had a turn to that. He was always situated and, completely satisfied. And he undertook great austerities all the way to the end. It was absolutely supernatural. I mean, I was there in 77, not in Vrindavan, but we all heard constant reports of Prabhupada's health situation. And it was just he wasn't eating, he came to, in September, that's 2 months before he departed, he decided to go to the West. He's on his bed, he's not eating, he's becoming very, very thin. He said, no, I want to go to Gita Nagari and I got to try to install Varnashram. He goes to Europe, he goes to England. And there, every devotee in Europe somehow got to England, to the manor, to see Prabhupada. And I don't know if he could even talk. I don't know if he even gave lecture, but he was sitting there. And, he couldn't hardly see, he had these glasses, these dark glasses. But he's undertaking this incredible austerity that no one would do unless he's impelled by some divine order, and desire to fulfill a mission that he felt wasn't completely fulfilled. Never made it to America, had to go back to India, But so far away from the idea of trying to enjoy even, or even just to be passively taken care of then. He was preaching up to the last minute. There's movies, there's a video of him dictating this chapter 13 in the 10th canto. There's Jayadvaita Swami right next to his ear with the type recorder, Pujamna Das. So what is that a proof of? That proof that he's, beyond Brahmabhuta, but certainly on Brahmabhuta platform. He was able to tolerate, incredible, what would ordinarily be extreme suffering, and always keep his mind, fixed on Krishna, and preach to the last minute, and show. He was giving an example to us also of how to remain faithful to Krishna up to the very end, and try to give Krishna as far as possible to everybody. So Prabhupada is a perfect example of this. When a person understands Brahman or Supreme Source, he enjoys a blissful life, even in this lifetime. We should aspire for that. I'm sorry, I went over time. Any comments or questions? We got we have two mics, but do we have any comments or questions? Okay, Jamal.
So I was reading Bhagavatam recently.
Bring it up.
Sorry, I was reading Bhagavatam recently where Kapila Deva is instructing his mother Devahuti, and one of the purports, Prabhupada says that unless one is freed from material contamination, they cannot take up devotional service. Now, can this what you were saying about this subtle difference between bhakti and bhakti yoga? It reminded me of this statement that Prabhupada made, which I was wondering, what does that mean? Because we hear that, okay, devotional service is the way to free ourselves from material contamination. So what you were saying about that, can that be applied to the statement that Prabhupada made, unless one is...
Well, knowing, Prabhupada's use of words and how he's referring to verses, what I think he's referring to, I'd like to see the reference. Okay. No, I think I understand. Afterward, I think I understand what's going on. There's a verse. There's always a verse. 7th chapter near the end. Yesham dvandakatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva mohane magdabhajanti mam juravata. This is a pairing with the previous verse, which describes how every one of us comes into the creation, which Prabhupada often takes mean fall from the spiritual world, or just every time we're created, means every time we're born. This is what we're characterized by. Itcha dvesha, samutena, dvandva mohena bharata. Again, we got Sochiti Kankshati. Here the words is desire and abhorrence. Itcha and dvesha. Samutena. Arising from that feeling that we get from just being in the material world, dvandva moha. We get the bewilderment of duality. So this is good, this is bad. This is good because, I can enjoy it. This is bad because it threatens me, it threatens my enjoyment. So Ichchadvain is somewhat dvandva mohena bharata, sarva bhutani sammoham, sargayanti paranta. All living beings are overwhelmed, not even just human beings. So the next verse describes how to get rid of this moha, because we have to come to the point of sanity to begin devotional service. So, yesham dvantakatam papam, those whose sinful life is ended, because it's understood being in the material world, life after life, especially human life, that you're going to perform sin, which is violating the laws, and that produces suffering. So, yesham antakatam papam, jananam, human beings, punyakarmanam, who simply perform pious activities. So the sin is ended, right? You're sinless. Te dvandva mohanemakta. They become free from the delusion of duality, and they perform devotional service, drita vrata, with firm determination. Now, to begin devotional service, you don't need any of that. That's the great mercy and compassion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. From whatever level, whatever you've done, whoever you've been, you may kill the Brahmin, right? Every time we go around Tulsi. Well, you may have killed him, but you'll be free of it if you go around Tulsi. So you can start chanting from anywhere. And as soon as you chant, as soon as you come in touch with devotion or take a little prasadam, your devotional life has begun. Now, to progress on that path, to really, have some serious progress, then you have to give up, sinful activity. That's what the 4 regs are all about. So, I think the confusion part is the take up. Yeah, to take up devotional service, you can do it from any side. But here, take up means this verse, Yesham Tandakatam Papam. So show me after class the context, and I think that's what the Prabhupada is referring to. This is one of the reasons why the editing is so important, because Prabhupada uses words in different ways sometimes, like just this word would be, There's an English word would be, would hyphen be, like my would be bride ran off with someone else, In other words, I intended to marry her, but it didn't work out, like that. And Prabhupada uses that word mainly just to be future, but that doesn't quite work. And so in certain contexts, we have to change it to future. I think he uses it where Gandhari is going to marry Dhritarashtra. Now it's a whole thing in Vedic culture that the wife shouldn't outdo the husband, in austerity or anything like that. So she's like known as the most chaste and surrendered lady. What is it? And she blindfolds her eyes forever. She voluntarily becomes blind in that way, because her husband's blind. Well, I can't see, and he's not going to have it, So in that purport, he says, knowing that her would-be husband was blind, she blindfolded herself, and bound her eyes. But would-be means that he didn't really become the husband. You understand? That's the connotation of that particular phrase in English. But Prabhupada, he may not have contacted that in training. So would-be, just looking at it, says, okay, well, he would be her husband, and therefore, no, it doesn't work that way. So I have to change it to future. It's just a minor thing. But that's, I think, what's happened in that purport. It's not take up, it's progress on the path of. Take up, you can take up from any platform. You don't have to be free of sin. How else did we take it up? I certainly wasn't free of sin. Maybe I've made it, a little advancement. You were born into it. We're here with it. If you're born into it, into devotion, that's the sign of a very good previous birth, obviously. But anyone who takes it up seriously is very rare, unfortunately. So, okay. Anything else? I think it's time to adjourn. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Oh, before we adjourn, one little pronunciation note. How do we sing, to pick up the song at the end of the Guru Puja song? The one where it goes, Ha ha prabhu korodoya deho more parachoya. Ebe yasha gushak tribhovana. Prabhupada patita pavana. We've been singing it for 40 years. The only problem is that the word is not pavana, it's pavana. So you can sing it that way. Yeah, right? Pavana. Patita pavana. Prabhupada patita pavana. I know it's harder to sing that way, but it just makes much more sense. You can imagine if it's an English word. I mean, I don't know which one I can pronounce, but if it's English and someone says like that, think of a name. Hey, Jamal. And my name is not Jamal, it's Jamal, The emphasis matters. It's a small little thing. Try to see if you can remember it tomorrow. Hare Krishna.